Hi, I'm Entertainment Weekly's Christian Holub, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this 92nd Street Y Talks event about Apple TV Plus's Servant. We have Toby Kebbell, Lauren Ambrose, and Nell Tiger in conversation today. Okay, so I wanted to start by going back to the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, because it just so happened that I visited you guys on the set of Servant Season 2 first or second week of March, and I went to Philly, talked to you guys on the set, took a bus back that night, and then the next day, the lockdown had started, and I haven't left my house that much since then. But I know you guys were in the middle of everything, and I know because I was there. So I just wanted to ask, what was that like when that kind of shutdown status quo came through?
Yeah, it was. It didn't seem like it was going to be a huge deal. We were in the middle of episode 6. We were, having great fun working with Boris, playing Uncle George, and him kind of in full swing. And then suddenly we're all on the stoop of the street and. But like, we'll be back in a week. Yeah. We'll be back in a week. Lauren's going to drive home. We'll be back in a week. We'll be fine.
I'll have a nap and we'll come back.
Yeah.
We had a big meeting on the fake street outside of the brownstone, the whole crew and the whole cast, and we all stood there and it was sort of like, what do we do? What do we do? And I know Knight was really on the fence with like, should we pull the plug? What are we supposed to do here? And it was decided we would all take a 2-week hiatus and then reassess and come back. Meanwhile, the world shut down.
Yeah.
And we all went home for 6 months or something. Forever. But then, miraculously, we all came back to work in a bubble to finish the season. We all lived and worked together, which was an extraordinary feat on the part of every employee in the whole company, really, to make that happen, to get everybody back to work.
Yeah,
we were very lucky.
They were able to get us to test 3 times a week and in different zones, zone A, B, B plus, C, and it worked well. It was a lot of extra hard work. It's a very heavy series anyway.
Yeah.
You've got this very serious situation occurring in the world. So, it's tough. It's really tough. It's really tough to come back and shoot that way. But we were
all of the, we got the sort of built-in mask break because we're actors, which comes with its own vulnerability. But we could take off our masks to work and to do our scenes. But the entire crew doing this like fine motor work had to wearing masks and PPE and shields and this and that. And I mean, it was a lot to, all of the testing. But of course, feel incredibly grateful to be, some of the few actors who were able to work with other actors on a set and actually be in production. And part of that is because our show is a version of being in lockdown already with a small family within 4 walls for the most part.
Totally. I wanted to say that whatever you guys did, it's not like there's something around episode 6 or 7 where suddenly the show feels different, or if you didn't know better, you could tell that there's a pandemic happening or whatever. So I guess it was just all these things you had to do kind of off camera and on the set.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
But it took a lot of trust, and it was really trusting your colleagues and coworkers, and it was a pretty extraordinary experience.
It occurs to me, do you think it helped that it happened in season 2, and you guys already kind of had that grounding with each other, as opposed to if it had happened at the same point in the first season? I don't know.
I mean, God only knows. I mean, who knows? But I think that the fact that we all had this kind of we had a relationship already. I think I don't know. I don't want to speak for you lot, but for me, the COVID and coming back in halfway through season 2 and all of us being thrown together in this kind of weird dystopian situation, I felt like we all had to rally together quite a lot and sort of lean on each other. I definitely lent on my castmates throughout that experience because it was scary and weird and different and like nothing any of us had ever experienced before. So thank God that we all get along, and I found some comfort in being around each other. Like, because we were on the same building, like I knew that if I was having a bad day or felt nervous, I could go down to Lauren's for a cup of tea, or knock on Toby's door for a vegan meal, or go annoy Rupert and Georgia. And like, I'm really lucky that I had those guys around me and in that space during that time. Otherwise, I think I probably would have gone fully nuts, like more insane than I already am, which wouldn't have been good for anyone.
In short, Christian,
we had some nice family dinners.
Yeah, the fact that we'd already established each other as a bonding, that was helpful, because as Lauren said, we had family dinners.
My birthday.
Yeah.
Toby, did you cook during those dinners, or what did you guys eat?
We all did. Yeah, I mean, the family style, right? So some with bread or a dessert, or and Lauren's an excellent cook, and Nell's done one of the best risottos I've had in a long time. I'm not even kidding.
Toby, you're actually going to make me cry. Getting a cooking accolade from Toby is like, it's a really big deal. A baking accolade from Lauren is like, and a cooking accolade from Toby, it's a big deal for me. Like, I made them these little chickpea frittata things, and everyone liked them, and I thought I was going to weep inside. I was so happy.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice.
Awesome. Yeah, speaking of food, Toby, I think, you've talked about this a little before. I've maybe even asked you about it, but just in case, that there are people watching who, haven't read previous interviews with you guys or anything, can you just talk a little bit about the show, the food on the show? Because obviously such a big part of the show is the food that Sean is cooking all the time. And how much of that is like actually being made and you guys are actually eating and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the food's a huge part. Honestly, that big part comes from Drew DeTomo. He's our resident chef, and he makes everything that appears on camera. We do it together. There was a lot of interpreting what Tony Bascala, our season 1 creator, had written. And we were like, so how do we do this in a gastro way, or how do we make this? So me and Drew got very bonded. And we're all very bonded with Drew. I mean, he's the missing part of the family meals, Drew.
He's always there. We love him.
Whatever excellent food he'd made. So he and I, actually, season 2, there's much less food, and we were, we were in uproar. We were like, what? Why is there? But we had excellent bits. We had the pizza, but that was, so much fun to make, but actually just ends up as being a kind of a crux in the episode, that excellent episode. So. The food's always brilliant. It's always good to make, and because we're on a set that actually works, we did have a pancake off, and Lauren won hands down by about 1,000 miles.
And it was on Pancake Day.
It was Shrove Tuesday, in the UK. They don't celebrate it in the US. Yeah.
We didn't even know that it was Pancake Day when we started having a pancake off. I didn't participate in it.
Yeah.
And then I found out it was Shrove Tuesday. I was so excited. It was a big deal. And Lauren won.
Thanks. Yes, I did. Pancakes is actually the thing I do best.
Yeah, it was excellent watching you work.
Yeah. But that's the nice thing. It's because of all that food, it encourages everyone to cook and expect. It's not often. I've never, I've been invited to dinner a few times with other colleagues on different jobs, but it's very rare you actually talk that much about cooking. But cooking is such a big part. We all kind of participate in it, So it's great fun. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome. You mentioned the pizza that plays a little role in this season. That's I really like that arc. Those couple episodes where you guys have the big pizza oven, and I saw that when I was on set. The big oven that had been built and stuff. And I guess the pizza oven and the attic are kind of the new spaces in the house or new kind of things that have changed from that weren't there in season 1. So, how kind of refreshing or interesting was it to play around with those new spaces or those new things in the space?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I spend the majority of season 2 inside that attic. I get brief moments of release, but pretty much all of season 2, at least my big moments, they're all in that attic. And it was really fun because I think we all got so used to the rooms that we were working with in season 1, and then all of a sudden this new room was introduced, this new space, this new opportunity to like work it out. And every item in the attic and every move that Leanne makes in the attic, it represents something to do with her past or her childhood or what's coming, and it was. So for me, I spent most of the season up there, so I missed the house kind of. They were all down there having fun, having chats. So I was like, guys, can I come down? But it was definitely it was a big part of the shooting process for me, kind of embodying that attic space, and helped with the claustrophobia of the way Leanne's feeling. So it was pretty cool. It's dusty though.
And the pizza oven too. I mean, just to say that Gino and Karen do such great work. They really are set decorators, and they do such beautiful work. They actually had to go away partway through the second season, and they were so missed. It's impossible to do that job. Without them, they just fill in so many of the gaps. And the pizza oven too. The work actually was the dough. Me and Drew spent so long figuring out dough and seeing how long we could refrigerate dough for. I mean, we were trying to see it was 72-hour this, 16 hours, and getting obsessed with refrigerated dough. This has too much condensation. This one's sweating. We became
There's
weirdos
nothing
about
better
dough.
than walking past the test kitchen and seeing Toby and Drew just like in it, like in the little test kitchen on set, and seeing those two working their magic and creating their geniusness. Because Toby doesn't give himself enough credit, because Toby is such an important part of the cooking of the show too. Because Toby's an amazing chef. And so, like, walking past them and seeing them create all that stuff and maybe getting to eat some of it when they're in their genius mode it's just great. It's such an important part of the atmosphere.
That's awesome. And I think my favorite thing about the pizza oven is that it shows up and the characters are kind of cooking up this scheme to be like a fake kind of Grubhub restaurant and stuff, which I love. And so I'm very into the new visuals of the pizza oven. I'm following along the logistics of their plan. And that set me up to be totally surprised by the end of that episode when Dorothy reveals that she poisoned the pizza to knock out Leanne and stuff. So, Lauren, I just wanted to ask about that and kind of, Dorothy's journey or arc this season, because that felt like representative of her stuff on the season as a whole, but that moment kind of a particular turning point in terms of her really kind of taking control of the action, or trying to, and surprising the other characters. What did you like kind of about playing that for her?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting and really a departure from season one, where she's so vulnerable, and it's this mystery if she's going to wake up, and are we going to like upset this delicate balance, and is this fragile tower going to crumble, and what's going to happen? And now she's presented with this very real problem of, my baby is missing. She sees the doll for what it is at the end of season one, and so now she's basically going to take control, and that moment that you're referring to at the end of episode 3,
I think it's 3 or 4, yeah,
3, I think, with the pizza oven, and and she decides, okay, these boys have been screwing this up, and now I'm going to take over. And that's kind of interesting. It's like this web of lies that the boys have created, and keep her keep her guessing, and keep her in the dark about facing this trauma, and so now she's going to find this baby. She's going to get her kid back no matter what. And so that was a turning point, and with the hot oven as a metaphor for it all.
And we know, kind of from the way Dorothy talks about her job and does her job, that she seems like a, if not workaholic, someone who likes having things to do. And so,
type A.
This ransom plot is like, she has something she can wrap her head around and like do
She's
actions.
Like Denzel. She's like on a mission, gonna get her baby back no matter what. So, which was it's great. It's fun to play. I mean, she definitely goes there was stuff that I was faced with having to figure out how to do that was really challenging for me, and I mean, in a fun way. It was like, oh man, read the script, like, oh man, how on earth am I gonna do that, and how are Nell and I gonna do that stuff?
We did some crazy stuff.
have these intense scenes, and and you sort of get this face off between maternal rage and like teenage will, and all in this new set of this attic, and that was kind of a different theme for us this year.
Yeah, Nell, I wanted to bring you into this too, because Lauren said something that I think is kind of applicable to Leanne too, where like kind of in season 1 and towards the beginning of the season, I think both characters are kind of treated as passive objects almost by the men in the show, not just Sean and Julian, but even Uncle George and stuff to a certain degree, like, oh, we just have to keep Dorothy in the dark, blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, we just have to make sure Leanne does this, that, or the other thing. And
Totally.
And Leanne also has, I think in various ways, she takes control of the situation a little more, using her powers a little more. She seems more in control of her sexuality and her kind of female power in that way. If you wanted to talk about kind of playing that and how maybe kind of different she was from when we met her in season 1.
Yeah, I think that, I think it's episode 6 or 7. I think it's episode 7 that Leanne kind of has this turning point. It's right at the end of episode 7. She's standing under the glass, and there's this change in her. There's been a slow change building up in her since the beginning of season 2. But that's, I think, where you feel the real switch, and she kind of rejects this old story that she's been told. Because, all of our thoughts and our feelings or whatever, they're just stories that people tell us, really. And, that was just this story that she had heard, and she kind of rejects it and kind of steps into herself as this young woman who doesn't only maybe have this, like, ethereal power to her and something otherworldly, but she also just has power as a young woman. And I think she's starting to realize that. And, finding her strength in being able to decide what she wants to do for herself, as opposed to always having everything decided for her. So that was really, really fun to play. It was definitely challenging at points. And, my most challenging scenes this season were with Lauren, and thank God for her, because, she's just, Lauren just has such an amazing energy and presence, and like bouncing off of her, I think, was what made me able to kind of reach those darker points. So, it's just like the nurture of like my cast and, Night and our directors and people around us that made it okay and made it accessible for me to get to those places. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to keep her growing and keep her changing.
Awesome. Toby, let's finish the trio and kind of talk about Sean's journey this season a little bit, because we were just talking about the food and all the stuff you do with the food on the show. Obviously, Sean is very much about his cooking, and though it's kind of in those areas that he's been hit by kind of the supernatural stuff that's kind of affected everybody differently. He's had problems with his taste, and this season, he's still got stuff going on with his hand and stuff, and it seems to kind of be pushing him away a little bit from the kind of cynical attitude that he definitely had when we met him. How would you kind of describe his kind of struggle with faith almost this season?
Yeah, absolutely. That was quite prevalent throughout the scripts that I was reading, and I had to kind of, especially with constantly wearing that bandage. I had to summon some Jack Nicholson in Chinatown and appreciate that he did that with the nose bandage.
Yeah.
I was like, if he can do it with the nose bandage, I can do it with the hand. It was those things. It's that he's living in this place where things are actually having cause and effect, which isn't usual with superstition. Usually you kind of believe it. You're like, shouldn't I have done that with the jacket? What am I? So once he has these, realizations that maybe that's what's getting us closer, he gets caught up in this. The idea is belief. The way I'm playing it and getting to it was that it was the superstition. How do I suddenly out of the blue believe superstition's the path? So once you start to get superstitious about, I shouldn't do that, and I start to plot out and have plans for myself, that was what was so relieving about Lauren's character and her brilliant portrayal of Dorothy suddenly being like, my baby's gone. So where is my baby? Someone has stolen my baby. It kind of takes that pressure off Sean of thinking that he's got to, we're on a new path. Okay, well, yeah, no. That keeps happening, and so that, and it's got to be this girl. She came in, so he's just trying his best to figure out, and that's why the food kind of took a back seat, because that's what he could throw himself into, was how does he fathom how to make these flavors work? That's keeping work alive. I'm still part of society. Once that kind of goes out of the window and they're kind of hibernating and hiding all of these things, especially from the police, that's what the other element that I really like. Is the police suddenly come in, and there's some excellent scenes later on in the season where, me and Lauren are with the cop, and one of us is selling it for real. One of us is like, where is my fucking baby? And one of us is like, because the crazy lady wants to know where the baby is. It was so tricky for the pair of us and for the actress playing the police officer. So great fun, just great fun to play all of those layers upon layers of things. And yeah, tricky. I mean, I went to Lauren and I was like, what? I suddenly believe it. What? She's like, just maybe it's this. And that's the beauty of having a great cast. It's not just that you're, with great actors who are brilliant and have done their homework. It's that you can also rely on them to go, am I being ridiculous? Why is this suddenly and you find your own way. It's more like therapy. You kind of find your own way to it and go, I got to do that. That's how I've got to get there. I have no option. I can't rewrite 7 episodes, so I've got to get there somehow, and that's it. That's the joy of it, really, ultimately.
I thought it was a very beautiful storyline of a person who's, having this crisis of faith, and it's, he was such a skeptic before, and now, oh my God, is this faith creeping in? And like, what do I believe? It was, and I thought Toby did such a beautiful job in portraying it, but yeah, really hard to figure it out from inside it, for sure.
Yeah.
And it seems like something that happens kind of maybe multiple times to characters on this show is they start out by pretending something or pretending to believe something, and then the fakeness becomes real, and maybe it becomes fake again. But it's like the line, I sometimes think of it as like a dreamy tone or surreal tone, just kind of the way the show moves between kind of fakery, putting on an act, and believing for real, and stuff like that I'm sure is hard to nail.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, what's been so nice is it's kind of easier to understand because we've all been trapped at home. So a lot of people have been sitting there with a kind of, this is my life, it's amazing. And that fakery becomes very apparent that that's fakery. And then those people are like, I'm terror, I've got no ability, what am I doing with myself? And then you get to stay at home and focus on yourself for a minute, which does take a few months to kind of refocus on yourself. It's been useful, but that's what we're in. It's just coincidental that that's what everyone else is starting to get some experience of. That's what it's like being in that house. You're with this horrible trauma, and no one really wants to look at it, but everyone keeps opening the door and having a peek, and it smells bad and it looks awful. It's that thing. Does anyone want to see my heart? It's made of poo. It's like, good, thanks.
So, but yeah, I think we all have such turbulent storylines, like each individual of the core 4 of us experiences one reality, and then all of a sudden we do a sharp right turn into a totally different way of thinking, and it is hard to keep up sometimes with your own storyline and your own brain, and try and connect these dots and make sure that you're being true to the character. Like, I've definitely, as Toby said earlier, I've definitely turned to Toby at some point and been like, Toby, am I being completely ridiculous? Like, I've definitely done that. Or turned to one of my classmates and been like, was what I'm doing making any sense? And you have to step back from it and take a breath and just be recenter yourself and try and figure it out as to what makes sense to you and make that decision. So as both of these guys said, we are just lucky that we all have the ability to turn to each other, and your classmate's going to tell you the truth, so it's really good to have that.
I love that because that reminds me of one of my favorite moments from the final episodes of season 2, which is when they invite Dorothy and Julian's dad over for like the holiday dinner party, and he brings his young girlfriend along, and beforehand he's in the car outside, the dad, the girlfriend, and Julian, and the girlfriend the girlfriend asks like, wait, so do they have a baby or don't they? And Rupert just goes, they had a baby, and then it was fake, and then it was real, and now it's fake again. Keep up. And it sounds like this speaks for viewers and maybe actors a little bit too of like, okay, where are they again? Like, what's the current status quo? Okay.
Yeah. It's great.
It's so good.
Awesome. Well, kind of building off that and fake things becoming real and stuff, I wanted to ask you guys, Lauren and Toby, about kind of where we leave Sean and Dorothy at the end of this season, because, for so much of the show, they've been lying to each other, or one of them has been lying to the other one. And yet that moment where Dorothy's locked herself in the room and is threatening to kill herself, and it's very intense, and Sean is screaming at her. That felt like a real kind of breakthrough. Like, even if they aren't necessarily being totally honest with each other, that's that moment felt like, yeah, they're finally talking to each other on this really primal, emotional level. How did you guys feel about playing that and where they kind of end up at the end of the season?
Well, it definitely started. We're pretty divergent, and I'm pursuing this reality of finding the baby, and he's trying to keep all of the balls in the air with Rupert's character as well, and by the end they find their way back to each other. We're about to start shooting season 3, so I don't know for how long, but they find their way back together, and I think that this show is about a lot of things and about being human, and it's exploring these big ideas through the genre, and these big ideas of humanity, like what is loss, and what is it to be married, and what is it to grow up and individuate. So this couple, the track of this couple is interesting because they can be just awful to each other, really horrible in their language and in their distrust of each other. But there is this fundamental love that keeps them together through all of this trauma. My hope for them is, they will eventually come full circle to wholeness and find their way to be able to grieve this issue. This is really a couple who cannot grieve. They can't bear to look at the problem. So, but that by the end of the season 2, we found ourselves, I was vindicated in my efforts, and he was vindicated in his burgeoning faith, and we met. So that was lovely.
It was so much fun to play for the pair of us. I mean, actually, I had the better side of that because I got to actually reveal and scream out how much pain I'm in. So with all of the other underlying stories, it was such a nice opportunity in the finale to sort of sit there and, Lauren's playing still, 4 different layers of things. Sean, my character, actually just got to scream for a brief second, if only for a second, as loud as the pain really felt. And that was great to play. It's always great to get to scream at full volume and say what you mean. But it was so nice to do that without being face to face also, through the door, which was a great kind of camera setup. Technically, they cut out the door and they put the camera lens in, so it was as close as it could possibly be to the frame, and all these very clever technical things. So just through a slit, I could almost just see Lauren's shoe, and it was just enough to be like, I can't quite get in. So it still felt like there was a door, there was just enough of it available, and it's great to have that moment between them because sometimes if you can't see, like, why, how do they still love each other? Do they love each? Does he really love her? Does she really love him? Mm-hmm. Not saying that abusive situations are a sign of love and affection, but sometimes that shouting, that volume of shouting, that
mm-hmm.
kind of fury at your partner is because you care so much. Not the same as coming in, screaming your head off, and constantly screaming and having constant argument. It's just that level of, I have to tell you how much this hurts. And what was nice is in episode 2 or 3 or 1 or 2, we have a little moment where it's a precursor. You start to see,
mm-hmm.
okay, maybe that's what's occurring. But that was what's so nice about it. And of course, it has a bunch of other layers, but great to play as well.
Awesome. Well, Nell, I know Rupert isn't here, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Leanne and Julian's relationship, kind of reaching the next level, which I would apply not even to having sex, but to her bringing him back from the dead. They have some intense.
Yeah, that's a bigger moment, I think.
I think so too.
I mean, I think that there was always this kind of simmering tension between Leanne and Julian right from, episode 2 of season 1. And, it was definitely reaching boiling point. But I mean, it's interesting because in season 2, before Rupert and me ended up doing that scene and that, that whole stuff that we figured out, like, that we had to do, like, before that, I don't know how to talk about it. I actually don't know what to say. Yeah, before we had to do that, season 2 was so red.
We were all just the rest of us. We were all wrapped by the time they were left. They were left in the pandemic when we were coming back to do it. They were left to do this sex scene, but they had read in the script that we'd all read and all sat having dinner like, what? So, but then how does that? And they were like, you got the storyboards, and it just was building.
The storyboard.
Poor guys. They both were like, okay.
Yeah.
Friend, I guess we got to do this scene. The death scene was awesome. The scene where Rupert, I had to pump his chest to the beat of "Staying Alive," and Rupert couldn't stop laughing.
Oh my god, we were laughing so much that day. That was crazy.
It's good.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Well, speaking of, I guess, emotions and energy on set, even though, as you said, the main 4 of you are so close and are in almost every episode and are filming so much together and were even, living in nearby spaces when coming back during the pandemic. What's it like to have, someone like Boris when he's on set and Uncle George both bringing a different energy as a character to the character dynamic and bringing kind of a different energy to set? What's that like?
I mean, Boris is great. He's such a lovely human being as well. Most of my favourite times with Boris are when we're sitting in the kind of green room together, chatting, waiting to do a scene. And he's a very insightful man. And I think this season, but this show in general, makes everybody think, what am I doing? What are my patterns? How do I deal? And Boris is very insightful about what he's, discovered in his life about himself and those things. But he's also hilarious. And he has such an intensely serious character to play.
Yeah.
When you catch him and you crack him and he actually gets the giggles and he does this kind of smile. It's so good. He does this kind of smile and looks at you and his eyes wide. One eye. And you're just like, oh man, I got him.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren and Boris are pretty much borderline unbreakable, like to
Almost
make them laugh.
Yeah.
Almost unbreakable. Well, we've got you, Lauren, a couple of times. Me, Toby, and Rupert are awful. Me and Rupert are the worst, but it's mostly
you and Rupert are the worst. You had the giggles over the word potato. I mean, I've never in my life got to the place where potato was the word that was triggering you. I can't.
But you will look over, if you're off camera, you'll look over us and go,
yeah.
Like, what? You kill me. It's hilarious. Yeah, me and Rupert are fucking terrible. Sorry. It's late here. Me and Rupert are terrible. We are always breaking character. But yeah, Lauren and Boris are pretty much uncrackable. So when you get one of them to break character, it's a really great feeling.
It is, yeah.
Even if it is not good, but it is hilarious.
Yeah.
I would say Boris was amazing, doing all kinds of amazing physical comedy after a knee surgery. That was really impressive. And yeah, it's great when we, it's so often just the four of us, and when we get to welcome new, even like more experienced actors into our world. It's great to open up that way. Also, Barbara Sukawa is an actress who came and did episode 10 with us, and she's such an incredible actress. And that was a whole improvised situation due to pandemic stuff, and it all happened at the last minute, and it was really a sort of incredible creative thing that came out of this whole reality. So her character and her presence and her abilities and talent was really great. So grateful she graced us with her presence.
Yeah, I'm glad you went there, Lauren, because it was another great kind of not misdirect, but just kind of a change up that the show pulls on you. Like I was saying earlier with the pizza, where you kind of get into the rhythm of, this goofy scheme they're doing with the pizza and all that, and then suddenly it takes the turn with Dorothy taking it into her hands and stuff. And I think there's something similar where, because Uncle George was in the first season, obviously, and he's showing a lot in season 2, and you kind of, he's a very weird character who does unexpected things, but I kind of get used to the rhythm of him, and then suddenly he's gone, and this new presence that I'm not prepared for at all is totally different. Really makes that finale so unsettling.
Yeah,
Agreed. Yeah, she was brilliant. I mean, even from when she turns up in episode 9 at the door, she just had this huge dark veil.
Yeah,
and we actually had to reshoot a scene because she was like, I can't see through it. How can you see me? And it was too dark, But she does it so beautifully well, and that is the beautiful thing. As Lauren said, it's great to be graced with excellent actors coming in and just doing what is ostensibly a cameo,
Yeah.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Awesome. And Nell, not to put you on the spot again, but along with Aunt Josephine, I think my favorite part of the finale is that absolutely insane video that she has to watch by the church about killing her. And it's kind of one of those, it's almost watching like a YouTube reaction or something. Like we, the viewer, are watching you react to the video as much as we're watching the video. If you just kind of want to talk about that in the way that the church is kind of like such a threat to Leanne specifically, as that video kind of explains, I feel like whenever Sean or Dorothy are kind of in their way, they're like, like you people, but it was Leanne that messed this up and brought you into this. And that's really where I feel that, like, wow, these people are crazy, and they really have it out for her.
Well, I actually haven't seen the video yet.
Oh, wow.
No, I don't know what it's going to look like, because while we were shooting, I had our scripty reading off camera, reading the lines, and I was just looking at a blank screen, so I will be seeing the video when the rest of the world sees it too. But I think that the presence of the church and stuff is so strong towards like the mid section of the season, and then towards the end you just feel Leanne's rejection of it. And certainly, I mean, I'm allowed to say what happens in episode 10, right? This is okay, cool. And like certainly when she kills Aunt Josephine, it's like the ultimate rejection of the church, because Aunt Josephine represents, when she says we used to sing songs about you, like she's this character that you're not even sure if she exists. She's so sacred, and then for her to turn up and Leanne to kill her and put her in the wall, that's like, she's out, man. Like, she's done.
Yeah.
And like,
she's not out. She's in the wall.
She's in the wall.
She's there forever now, mate.
Leanne's in the wall. But it's such like the ultimate kind of piss off to the church. And so
Nell got so excited at the beginning of this. They were like, you understand your English, and so if you want to use your own language, then that's fine. You're so excited. She said the word piss 3 times. It's brilliant. I'm enjoying it as an Englishman. I'm enjoying it.
You've got to say a couple as well. Now you back me up.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm thinking back to 2 things. Roscoe, his performance.
Yeah.
When he plays, what has actually occurred to him, and then you suddenly realise by 10, you're like, boy, what did really occur? And then the day we were lifting Nell out of that pile of mud that she'd been buried in by Dorothy, it was just, what was that? It was oatmeal and coffee powder. It was
coffee
and chocolate.
And oatmeal, and it was covered all over me and Lauren.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That was an interesting day for us.
Both the girls were covered.
We were in it.
We were in the mud.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah. I guess that was mostly what I wanted to ask you guys about season 2. Are there any particular kind of moments or things you got from Night or anything kind of over the course of the season that we haven't covered yet?
It's funny, I'm thinking back, it's because of that pandemic.
Right, I'm sure it's like weirdly bifurcated. Yeah.
It's massively, your brain is just like, when did we do that? January? February? So everything that's present in my mind is episodes 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So
sure, it
just becomes that kind of, which is, it's a good portion, it's nearly half the season. So it's that kind of section that's still fresh in my mind. And just that it was so amazing what we accomplished in a bubble. It was just incredible. That we still managed to keep that story going.
I was very impressed, when I heard that season 2 was coming out, because I didn't know where you guys had kind of been left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to add to what Toby was saying. I just want to say how amazing the crew were throughout the whole experience, because as Lauren and Toby were saying, they had PPE and they had these masks and they were working like crazy. We were doing 6-day weeks, and the crew just rallied and were phenomenal. And I don't know how they didn't drop dead from exhaustion. They were amazing. So we were really lucky to have such an amazing group of people around us, really just wanting to make this show and make it the best we can. We didn't want to cut corners. We wanted to make it great. And it was just really such an ensemble effort. And obviously you only see 4, 5, 6 of us on camera, but it took an army to make it work through a pandemic. And I just feel really lucky that we got to experience that and experience it with such great people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I concur.
All right. And so I hear that you guys are starting to get scripts maybe and gearing up for season 3 a little bit. Hopefully that will be a little less stressful in the real world. Or you'll at least have safety figured out by now.
Well, exactly. Yeah, we've got it figured out because we did those 4 episodes. We've kind of figured out the safety to a degree. So we're back to it. And I think we've got all 10 episodes. It's exciting. I've only read 7, but so I hope I don't die in episode 8 and 9. But yeah, I've got 7, so they're good. They're great. We've got a lot of work to do, but that's the fun part. I'm looking forward to going back and seeing everyone.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Nell, Toby, Lauren, thank you so much for joining me, and to everybody watching this video, thanks for joining us for this 92Y Talks event. Season 2 of Servant is streaming on Apple TV Plus now.
Thanks,
Christian.